We have looked at community servers. We have looked at unlocking the potential of the mind. So now is the time, I think, to get greedy. Let's look at ourselves. Did you know that an average human being, people like you and me, we spend 35 years working? Assuming the current global average lifespan of a person, we end up spending 82% of our adult life at the workplace. It gets better. Even if you factor in holidays, planned and unplanned, each of us spends a whopping 300 million seconds at the workplace. 300 million, that looks like a big Hollywood budget movie. 300 million seconds, mind you. And the best part is, we spend most of this work time in what is called the new age workplace. The new age workplace is so unlike what our parents experienced, because the new age workplace is influenced by so many things over which we have very little control. Let's take a simple example. About a month back, I read about this Danish research which proved that the gender of your CEO's first child has an impact on your wage increments. This gets pretty complicated, right? And we all thought our managers were responsible for it. We all thought those fancy spreadsheets from HR were responsible for it. No, it's not even the CEO. Don't look at Sudhakar, it's not even the CEO. There are different powers elsewhere. There is a hell of a lot of things happening here. So that begs the question, how do I thrive? How do I thrive in this new age workplace, especially when I have very little control over what goes on here? So as Mastekers, what do? We are wise. So what do? We learn from others' experience. So let's learn from somebody who's been around for 50 years, is very well known, has been doing exceedingly well for himself, is extremely popular, but over the last 5 to 7, say maybe 10 years, there have been huge doubts about, is this guy good for the new workplace? Is he good at what he does? Is he relevant to what the new scenario is? So the guy we are going to learn from today is this guy, James Bond, somebody we all know, somebody we all grew up with. We will look at how he thrived at his workplace, which is the box office. Did you know that the last 3 outings of James Bond, Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and Skyfall put together, had a budget of around 500 million, and they grossed about 2 billion at the box office. I mean, the guy is thriving. He's a good example of how, thriving at your workplace is actually personified. So that, my friends, is what I'm going to talk to you about. I call it windfall. And those are 6 secrets that you can use to thrive in the new age workplace, courtesy of Mr. Bond. Before we go further, let's just understand this person called James Bond. I mean, he's been around for 50 years. What do we know about him? Well, we know that he loves his alcohol, right? We know that he's always lied about his employment. I mean, who has seen the Office of Universal Exports? Think about it. We know the guy kills for a living. And as Kalpana would attest, he's not exactly a brand ambassador for gender equality. I mean, this is this guy, successful for the past 40, 50 years, doing extremely well for himself. But mind you, he has the same problem. He had the same challenges that you and I have at the workplace. Today's generation do not know James Bond well. They cannot relate to him well because he was essentially a Cold War hero. He was a product of the Cold War era. And today, if you talk about Cold War to like I do when I speak about Cold War to my daughter, she thinks, why do people fight over the remote for the air conditioner? That's her understanding of Cold War. So the same factors which affected us affected this guy also. And how did they affect him? All this manifested in something incredible. It manifested in competition. He had competition from these masked guys who wore, plastic suits, masked guys in iron suits. And it gets better. You had groups of guys in plastic suits but without masks. I mean, these are combinations, right? And then he had competition from imposters, people who looked like him, did the same things he supposedly did. That's flattery for you. And he had competition from others, strange creatures from some funny lands. And worst of all, believe me, the guy has competition from 12-year-old kids. But then something happened. This guy was in big trouble. He was in huge trouble, mind you. And as they say, the writing was on the wall. It was very literally on the wall. But again, something happened. Something drastically changed. And this 500 million became 2 billion. And not just that, it revolutionized what happened in the bond franchise. 37% of the franchise earnings till date, which is about 6.5 billion, have come from the last 3 installments. So what changed? Well, a hell of a lot of stuff changed in the last 3 outings. To start with, the guy got a stubble. I mean, you can't imagine Roger Moore or Sean Connery having a stubble, but our friend got a stubble in this new era. He started botching up his jobs. Anyone who had seen Skyfall would realize that was the first time in the opening montage Bond messed up a job. The guy continued working with the manager who had very less faith in his abilities. Strikes a chord, right? And it gets worse. It gets worse. The guy now had 2 managers to worry about. Steve, if you're watching this, I sympathize with you. New tech support. Our friend got new tech support in the new movie. They gave him absolutely pathetic gadgets. And worst of all, this is the worst thing that can happen to a guy. They changed his drink. They changed the guy's drink. I mean, it's incredible what all this poor guy had to endure. But again, this worked. This worked very well. So is this the secret to surviving in the new age workplace? Well, unfortunately, no. So what is the secret, actually? The secret is what I call, the 6 secrets are, and we will go through them one by one. The first thing what I call is maintaining your character function. The character function is something that is intrinsic to a character. For example, you take Robin Hood. If you remove robbing the rich and paying to the poor away from Robin Hood, he's just a thief. Look at Batman. If you remove saving Gotham City from Batman, he's just an eccentric billionaire who wears funny clothes in the nights because he can't sleep. That's what he is. What is Bond's character function? Bond's character function is nobody does it better than Bond. That's his character function. Whatever happens, nobody does it better than him. And the 3 movies succeeded because I believe they focused on this. It was not the stupid gadgets. It was not the silly gadgets. It was not the silly wisecracks. So what does this mean for a Mastekeer? We need to find our character function. What is a Mastekeer's character function? It is not customers. It is not profitability. It is not gross margin. It is not cost control. It is not cost save. It is not quality. Now, before I get beaten up, I believe a Mastekeer's character function is to make magic. We hear this every quarter. But I think we need to remember this every second. We need to remember it for 300 million seconds. We are here to make magic. The second secret is to abolish stereotyping. A great deal of success for the Bond franchise is because Bond was humanized. You know, the guy felt pain, he botched up jobs, he cried. And imagine Bond crying. So 40 years of stereotypes were broken. Work-related, we have to understand that we need to break the stereotype of jobs as we perceive them over the last 40 years. None of us has jobs. Believe me, none of us has jobs. We all are reacting to temporary work situations today. We just move from one situation to the other. There is nothing standard structured about what we do. The third secret, I think, is sense-making, or what I call the ability to understand a problem and present it well. Not problem-solving, mind you, it's understanding a problem. In fact, if you look at the 3 outings of Bond, they are a beautiful presentation of the problem itself. How do I represent Bond to the new generation? The problem itself was given as a solution, and these guys walk away with 2 billion. I think, and I very strongly believe, that our ability to understand a customer's problem is way, way ahead of our capability to solve it. We need to understand customers' problems. That's the third important secret. The fourth important secret is treasuring social interaction. If you have seen these 3 movies, the element of drama that is there in the movie is tremendous. Talk time statistics for Bond movie shows the amount of time that Bond spends with his colleagues, his managers, his peers, etc., is extremely high. Otherwise, he comes, just shoots, and go away. But here, he spends a lot of time talking to people. That makes it far more realistic to you and me. And there is a very deep secret there. Our ability to have deep and meaningful conversations with people for desired outcomes is an extremely important differentiator. The medium for communication are endless, Twitter, Yammer, this, that. But what do we do in those communications is what is important. The ability to communicate well within limited time frames is a huge differentiator. The next is evolving a design mindset. All the 3 movies, if you have had a chance to look at them, although they are a bit sequely, they are essentially different stories. So the benefit is they are easily adaptable, which brings us to the strength that we need to have, the ability to be adaptable, the ability to understand that different work situations require different kind of thinking. The last secret is keep expanding horizons. And I relate it to the endorsement that the Bond franchise has been doing in the last 3 installments. Initially, we saw how the challenge was, how do you relate Bond to a new generation? The kind of endorsement that the Bond franchise has gone through over the years is attracting audiences of different age. So you have the guy modeling for beer, you have the guy modeling for Coke. So you have 2 different markets that is being addressed. So I think that's a very key differentiator, a very key secret that we need to look at. And in our work, if we have a core strength, excellent, but we also need to have the ability to talk in the language of a few other disciplines to be able to make a difference. Future is going to be dangerous. The workplace is going to be dangerous. The factors which affect it are going to be dangerous. So we have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. Our choice is either accept and survive or adapt and thrive. And we have 300 million seconds at stake. Now, mostly simple things aren't easy, and easy things aren't simple. This is pretty simple, but it is not easy to do. But again, as Mastekers, we have an advantage. Look at that, we have an advantage because we do it every day. We do it every day. We can do it every day. So ladies and gentlemen, all I want to say is, the world is out there, and as Bond would say, let's go and shake and stir it up. Thank you.